bringing you the latest Arizona high school football recruiting news year-round. This is the Recruiting Roundup on ProsToPreps.com.
It's time for the Roundup. Every week we bring you the latest in Arizona high school football recruiting, and we do so because we have this guy, Jason Jewell. He's our football insider. I'm along for the ride. I'm Jared Cohen. In this edition of the Recruiting Roundup, we're going to talk about a position that's very valued at the high school level, in my opinion. Guys that can put their hand on the ground, provide extra blocking, can also get out and catch the ball. And there is a ton of these guys are tight ends, by the way, if you're not catching my drift. But there is a ton of very, very good ones that are getting recruited at the next level that we would like to spotlight going into the 2013 season. And the first one, a recent Pac-12 commit, a very talented player out at Chaparral, has had to battle a lot of injuries though, so this will be a season to see what Trevor Wood is really made of.
He's a player that I absolutely love. He's 6'6", 230 pounds, has the bloodlines. Dad played at U of A, brother plays at U of A. He's going to play at U of A himself, has committed there. Didn't play last year because of a torn labrum in his shoulder, but as a senior, I expect big things out of this kid. He has to fit 2 seasons into one, basically, for his varsity career. So I expect a big season for him.
A Wildcat through and through is Trevor Wood, and I'm definitely intrigued to see how he plays because, man, the injuries have hampered him over the last couple seasons. But the next player, we're going to go down to Tucson. We're talking about U of A. We might as well spend some time in Tucson. Sabino, Matt Bushman. This is a guy that I don't feel like not enough people are talking about him, and he is one of the most talented players in the state.
He's a very special player. I actually compare him to last year's Grant Martinez in that he's kind of a glorified wide receiver. He doesn't put his hand down on the ground a lot and block people like Wood does, but he has great hands. He's tall and long and lanky. He's probably 6'5", 210, 215 pounds. But he has multiple offers already. I know he plans on going on possibly on his Mormon mission, so keep that in mind in his recruitment. I know BYU's still in the mix for him.
Lane Veach is committed to Stanford. The Perry player, he is committed to play linebacker for them, but he also suits up offensively for the Pumas, and he is still, because of his size and his athleticism, is one of the top tight ends in the state.
Yeah, possibly his dad maybe taught him a thing or two. His dad was a tight end at Arizona State. So he's 6'6", 210, 15 pounds, tall, long, can certainly run. We've seen him do that at the outside linebacker spot. Didn't catch a whole lot of balls last year. Perry runs the heck out of the football with a good offensive line, but we know he can certainly block. Let's see if he catches some more balls this year.
The next player is Dusty Cook. He's going to be at Highland High School in the upcoming season, transferred from Gilbert. He is anchoring, along with another player, a pretty dynamic tight end duo for the Highland Hawks.
Yeah, Dusty, I think, is probably the most underrated tight end in the state. I really, really like him. You see that first play where he makes guys miss, and he shows some physical toughness. More of a true tight end where he's going to put his hand down and can block, but he can do a lot of the spread stuff too, where he can line up out wide and line up in the slot, and he has good enough hands where he can make catches.
And I mentioned Dusty has a cohort on the other side of the offensive line, a tight end that has been at Highland who had a very good season last year in Colin Gardner.
Colin Gardner only caught probably 12 passes last year, but 6 of those were for scores. Another kid, I liked him before Dusty transferred over, and now it's real tough. We see what Stanford does with those multiple tight end sets. I think Highland could do the same thing.
And that's one of the reasons a couple of weeks back, Jason, we mentioned Highland as a sleeper team for the upcoming season. A lot of that has to do with these two on the offensive line.
Right, they can go up there, they can block, and they can set the edge for their run game.
And the final player to bring you this week as the top tight ends, the spotlight, a very talented player that has transferred to Higley this season, Nick Colson.
Yeah, transferred from Desert Ridge to Higley and already has multiple offers. Probably the 3rd ranked tight end in the state of Arizona currently. 6'3", probably 225 pounds, gets after it. Another kid that can do multiple things. He can line up and play out in the slot, can also put his hand down on the ground and be a traditional tight end.
Being an offensive lineman, how valuable are these tight ends in the extra pass blocking and pass schemes out there?
Well, yeah, most of the time the tight ends are really just a glorified offensive lineman. If they can catch a ball or two, that's great. With the new spread offense, you'll see smaller guys move out and not be your traditional tight end, but like we've talked about, being a glorified wide receiver. So I like the kids that can do both and be very multiple.
So there you have it. Those are the top tight ends to keep an eye on going into the 2013 season, which is just weeks away. We're going to be bringing you this recruiting roundup all through the season with some great stats, numbers, players, and of course, the recruitment of those players as the season rolls along. So make sure you stay with us. Until next time, Jason Jewell, Jared Cohen, this has been the Recruiting Roundup on ProsToPreps.com.